If Niccolò Machiavelli were alive today, he wouldn't be writing books. He wouldn't be giving TED Talks, tweeting hot takes, or posting selfies with cryptic captions. No, he'd be building empires from behind the scenes quietly, strategically, and absolutely. While the world chases likes, views, and clout, he'd be orchestrating power moves in silence. Today I'm going to show you exactly how he'd do it. Not through tired quotes. Through Doctrine 21 psychological rules for total control inspired by how Machiavelli would conquer in the modern world. Let's begin. Rule 1. Let them underestimate you. Machiavelli understood the most secure form of power is the kind no one sees coming. Everyone today is loud racing to prove their worth, flash their status, dominate conversations, and flex their credentials. But not Machiavelli. He wouldn't storm into a room trying to impress. He'd arrive last, observe first, and only speak when no one expected it, and say what no one else dared. That's how you win control. Quietly. While they're busy showing off, you're gathering information. While they're asserting dominance, you're studying their weaknesses. Let them assume you're harmless. Let them assume you're naive. Because when people believe you're not a threat, they lower their guard. They get sloppy. And that's when you strike from a position they never prepared for. Rule 2. Charm is more dangerous than truth. We live in a world where perception spreads faster than facts. It's not about being real, it's about being believed. Machiavelli would never waste time defending his integrity. He'd build an image, an illusion, a persona that disarms critics, charms skeptics, and wins trust without ever revealing his true intentions. He'd smile while planting seeds of misdirection. He'd praise enemies to make them drop their guard. He'd create a version of himself that looks noble while executing moves they never saw coming. It's not about being honest. It's about being persuasive. So don't try to correct people's perception of you. Use it. Let them believe you're the hero all while you're quietly scripting a very different ending. Rule 3. Be ambiguous on purpose. Most people spend their lives trying to be understood. Machiavelli. He'd do the opposite. He'd leave people guessing. One day warm, the next distant. Sometimes expressive, sometimes unreadable. Not because he's unstable, but because they are. Ambiguity creates curiosity, and curiosity creates control. When people don't know how to read you, they start studying you, overanalyzing your silence, searching your words for hidden meaning. And the moment they start obsessing over what you might be thinking, they're already orbiting your gravity. Be a puzzle, a riddle they can't solve. People chase what confuses them. Give them most of the story, but leave a piece missing. They'll chase that missing piece for years. Rule 4. Let them see the output. Hide the input. In today's world, everyone's broadcasting. Everyone's sharing progress, showing receipts, tracking every move. Machiavelli would do the opposite. He'd show the outcome, not the process. He'd appear transparent, but hide his strategy. People would see the results, but never the methods. They'd admire the surface, but they'd never understand the machinery beneath. Why? Because once people know how you move, they'll start planning counter-moves. They'll form alliances. They'll lay traps. So don't reveal your systems. Don't post your process. Don't talk about what you're building until it's already built. Let them think you're asleep, then pass them silently, and they'll never know what hit them. Rule 5. Build the mask, then let it crack. Perfection is forgettable. Flaws are addictive. So here's what you do. Craft a persona that's confident, smart, controlled. A leader, an intellectual, a calm force. But just once let it crack. Let them see something they weren't expecting. A flash of anger, a moment of vulnerability, a depth they never assumed was there. That moment, it makes you unforgettable. Why? Because people don't obsess over what they understand. They obsess over what feels just out of reach. Show them 90%, then go silent. Let them chase the last 10% forever. Machiavelli knew a ruler must appear virtuous, even if he's prepared to act against it. So show them the light, but let them glimpse the darkness. That paradox, that's what keeps them coming back. Rule 6. Say less than necessary. When you speak too much, you reveal too much your needs, your fears, your emotional dependencies. But when you speak precisely and then stop, you own the room. Machiavelli wouldn't explain himself. He'd drop a line like a blade and then let the silence do the rest. In a debate, a negotiation, or an argument, he'd say just enough to make you think, and then he'd stop talking. And in that silence, your mind would run wild. You'd start projecting, what's he thinking? Why isn't he responding? What does he know that I don't? That's power. Because now you're doing the work. Say less. Just enough to guide the narrative. Then let them lean in. Let them sweat. Real mystery lives in the space between words. Rule 7. Blur the line between threat and ally. People today are obsessed with knowing who's safe and who's not. Who's with them, who's against them. Machiavelli would live in the gray zone. He'd compliment enemies publicly, sit with rivals, defend people he secretly planned to remove. Not to confuse them, but to disarm them. Because when someone thinks you're a threat, they prepare for war. But when they think you're neutral, they relax. And the best time to move is when they're asleep. Be both the lion and the fox. Scare wolves, but see the traps. Smile before the ambush. Praise your opponent before replacing them. Agree with your critic before removing their mic. Stay warm, stay supportive, stay disarming until it's too late to stop you. Rule 8. Make them feel safe. Before you take power, you don't win by confrontation. You win by comfort, by making them believe you're on their side, rooting for them, even following them. Machiavelli wouldn't storm the throne. He'd be the trusted advisor, the quiet supporter, the person they think they're mentoring. He'd learn your habits, mirror your style, praise your ideas, make you believe he was walking your path. And once you let your guard down, once you feel safe, he'd strike. But not with emotion. With precision. Quick, clean, complete. By the time you realize what just happened, he's already in your seat and you're still wondering how. Because people obey immediate needs, and he'd be that need. He'd give you comfort, confidence, security. And once you trust him, he doesn't need to take anything. You'll hand it to him yourself. Rule 9. Make people dependent, then leave. If Machiavelli wanted control, he wouldn't demand loyalty. He'd earn dependence. Slowly, silently, he'd solve problems no one else could. Teach skills no one else would. Be there when no one else was. He wouldn't ask for anything in return. He'd just make himself necessary. And then one day, he'd disappear. Not out of anger, not to punish, just gone. And the absence would echo. Because nothing destabilizes someone more than losing what they never realized they were leaning on. You don't have to dominate them. Just become the person they can't operate without, and then take that away. That's unforgettable. That's power. Rule 10. Turn favors into weapons. Most people give to be liked. Machiavelli gave to gain leverage. He'd offer you a shortcut, help you when no one else would, give you something valuable, no strings attached. But you'd feel it, that imbalance, that quiet weight of the favor. He wouldn't bring it up at first. But when the moment came when he needed influence, he'd remind you, just once. Remember when I helped you with that? And you'd feel it all over again. The unspoken debt. The pride you gave away. You wouldn't fight back. You'd comply because somewhere inside you'd know he owns a part of your ascent. That's how favors work. They're not gifts. They're psychological chains. And the longer they go unacknowledged, the heavier they become. Rule 11. Earn loyalty by letting them betray others for you. People think loyalty comes from love. Machiavelli knew better. It comes from complicity. You don't force betrayal. You make space for it. Let them tell you a secret they shouldn't. Let them speak poorly about someone to impress you. Let them break a small rule in your favor. Now they're not just loyal. They're invested. Because the moment someone betrays their own principles or someone else for your benefit, they've made a choice. And people protect what they've compromised for. They'll stand by you. Not because they admire you, but because betraying you would mean admitting they were wrong all along. That's not charisma. That's entanglement. Rule 12. Break alliances from the inside. Machiavelli didn't destroy groups with direct attacks. He broke them through erosion. He'd get close, plant a whisper, a suggestion, a question that lingers. Have you noticed how she never backs you up in meetings? I'm not saying anything, but watch how they act when you're not around. He wouldn't accuse. He'd imply. He'd nudge. He'd let insecurity do the work. Because once trust inside a group starts to wobble, it spreads like a virus. Suspicion multiplies. Unity collapses. You don't need to tear down an alliance. Just plant one crack in the foundation, and the house will collapse on its own. Rule 13. Reflect insecurities back at them gently. Want someone to follow you without knowing why. Make them feel seen, but only in the places they feel weak. Not through insult. Not with direct criticism. With carefully timed, softly delivered observations. You always come through even when people underestimate you. You're really brave for someone who doesn't like the spotlight. These aren't compliments. They're emotional hooks. They trigger agreement from a place of pain. And once you're the one who gets them, who notices what others don't, they attach. They defer. They trust. Because insecurity opens the door from the inside. And once you're in, they'll believe you, not because you're right, but because you understand. Rule 14. Never hold the knife. In any betrayal, in any removal, in any ruthless decision, Machiavelli had one golden rule. Let someone else be the executioner. He wouldn't give the order. He'd plant the idea. He wouldn't remove the threat himself. He'd let the threat self-destruct with just enough help to push them over the edge. He'd whisper doubt, feed both sides, add tension, then step away. And when the chaos ignited, he'd return not as the villain, but as the solution, the stabilizer, the calm hand after the storm. That's the move. You don't gain enemies by doing damage. You gain followers by being the inevitable alternative. The goal isn't just control, it's clean hands. Everyone suspects you, but no one can prove it. And by then, you're already in charge. Rule 15. Say nothing, let them reveal everything. In every room, the most dangerous person is the quietest, not because they're weak, but because they're watching. Machiavelli wouldn't fill the air with noise. He wouldn't interrupt. He'd let the silence stretch until it became unbearable. Because silence isn't just a pause, it's a tool, a pressure, a mirror. Let someone insult you. Don't respond. Let someone ask your opinion. Smile. Say nothing. Let someone try to provoke you. Blink, then wait. And in that space, they'll start to talk more, and more, and more, until they say something they regret, until they give away their position, their doubts, their weaknesses. Why? Because people fear the unknown. And a person who says nothing becomes that fear. Silence doesn't just mask your thoughts, it exposes theirs. Rule 16. Be predictable until it matters. Machiavelli wouldn't be chaotic. He'd be strategically inconsistent. He'd answer messages on time until one day he doesn't. He'd always take the high road until the one moment he doesn't. He'd be steady, consistent, predictable. until the critical moment when predictability becomes a liability. Then he'd flip the script. Why? Because people exploit patterns. They prepare for what they expect. And once they believe they know you, they start setting traps. So you remain consistent until it counts. Then you break rhythm. Now they don't know what's coming. And people fear what they can't anticipate. They tread lighter. They second guess. And in that hesitation, you gain control. Rule 17. Make your presence felt even in absence. To dominate a room, you don't need to be in it. You just need to be the standard everyone compares to. That's how Machiavelli would operate. He'd train you so well that even after he's gone, you'd hear his voice in your head. He'd correct your mistakes before you make them. He'd become a shadow lingering, echoing. You'd win something and think, what would he have said about this? You'd doubt someone. And remember, he wouldn't have trusted them either. That's not just influence. That's branding. Not with logos or catchphrases, but with energy. With silence. With precision, so when he leaves the room, you don't replace him. You compare everyone else to him. Rule 18. Never threaten, let fear do the work. Machiavelli never needed to say, I'll ruin you. He let others wonder if he might. And that wondering, that possibility, is far more powerful than any explicit threat. You don't say, I could destroy your reputation. You just pause when they lie. Watch them twitch. You don't say, I'll block your next move. You just make one quiet call, then vanish. You don't need to act. You just need to create imagination. Because the fear of the unknown is the most paralyzing force there is. Let them sweat. Let them guess. Let them spiral. Because once they fear what you might do, they'll start working for your approval, just to avoid finding out. Rule 19. Delay revenge. Until it devastates, Machiavelli didn't believe in snapping back. He believed in sitting still, watching, collecting, and waiting. Someone wrongs you, you don't react. You study them. Let them celebrate. Let them relax. Then when they least expect it, when they're confident, complacent, you strike. Not loudly, not emotionally, but with precision. Because revenge isn't just about justice, it's about timing. When you react too fast, you let them control the tempo. But when you delay, they live in fear. Every silent moment becomes a question, did he forget or is he waiting? That paranoia. That sleeplessness, that's revenge before you even make a move. Rule 20. Become a system, not a person. Machiavelli never wanted to be liked. He wanted to be essential. He didn't want to be a name. He wanted to be a structure. That's the move. Stop being a person. Start being a framework. Create methods others use. Build systems no one else understands. Make your influence so embedded in the way things work that removing you collapses the entire operation. Train others to think like you. Leave your fingerprints on decisions, on strategies, on outcomes, even when you're not in the room. So, even if they want to move on from you, they can't function without you. That's not relevance. That's legacy. Rule 21. Make them afraid to say your name. Final form of power. It's not being famous. It's being haunting. Machiavelli would be the one people only reference indirectly. You know who I mean. Don't end up like him. You remember what happened last time, right? His name wouldn't trend. His shadow would. Because real control doesn't come from being talked about. It comes from being avoided, because everyone knows what comes with saying your name. You don't chase attention. You become the thing people fear mentioning, not because of superstition, but because you've shown what happens when they forget who you are. You don't raise your voice. You don't throw punches. You change the air in the room. And when people breathe your influence, without ever seeing you, that's when you've won. If Machiavelli were alive today, he wouldn't be online. He wouldn't be clout chasing. He wouldn't be seeking attention. He'd be everywhere and nowhere, smiling, listening, pulling strings, not chasing respect, positioning himself so others can't function without it. That's not fame. That's power. That's control. That's Machiavelli.